Many times were you told as a child you have to eat your whole dinner before you can have dessert? I mean, it was Sellery family, youngest of five. There were rules, and that was one of those rules. It is not easy to delay gratification for anybody, kid, grown up. It is even more challenging if you're neurodiverse, if you've got ADHD. Many people would say that this is a skill that is so important for financial well being over the course of time. But how do you train it? How do you encourage it? How do you reward delayed gratification? Otto Rivera argues that this is one of the most important skills you can teach your kids, and he comes from lived experience in this realm. Otto is a certified financial planner at White Lighthouse Investment Management. He joins us now from Orlando, Florida. Hello there.
How you doing, Bruce? Nice to be with you.
I am well. Delayed gratification when it came to dessert was a big issue for me. How does it manifest for kids, teens, and then adults in terms of their finances?
Well, basically, if you don't have a good foundation since your younger days, right, or your years when you were a child, then as you grow and you mature, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for you to adapt to the real world, a world where you will have to wait and you will have to have patience and invest money, save money, and delay a lot of gratification in order for you to be successful, right? There's the painful avenue also of not waiting, of not delaying gratification. And yeah, sure, you can have fun now, but you're going to have a bill due later. Um, your actions, your decisions. So for kids, it's really important to start working on it as, from their first years.
Mm,
Just you can do this by having a set schedule for meals, for example,
right,
or
right.
also helping them when you have impromptu situations where, let's say, the pizza didn't got delivered for another hour. So then just telling, hey, we need to wait until the pizza gets here, or
Yeah.
we need to wait for this to happen. Those things, right? I would say waiting or delaying gratification is like a muscle, right?
Mm.
You start training it, and basically, the earlier you intervene, the earlier you start training it and developing it, then you'll get a better outcome in the future
Right. Right.
for and
You
better
came onto
adaptation.
my radar screen because of a piece you wrote for Attitude Magazine. This is a publication focused on humans with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. This is something that you navigate as an individual, as a human yourself. Tell me about your journey here. When did you put together that maybe your brain was a little different and that this was affecting your behavior?
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to share that. So I was actually diagnosed during the pandemic, 2020. So just what, 5 years ago?
Hmm.
But I always knew I had it. I was a very distracted child. And I would say that, ADHD has affected my life, in some negative ways, but also in some positive ways, right? But the diagnosis did give me the opportunity to feel empowered to do something about it, to really start working on my health, my mental health, my neurological health. It actually prompted me to exercise more, to do other stuff, right? And really pay attention to myself and how I react to situations, and then in that way start to mastering myself, right? So we all struggle with just mastering our own emotions,
Hmm.
our own actions, right? And the diagnosis really empowered me. So, it's been such a great journey, and now I'm trying to help other people with ADHD also, by writing and speaking, how to
I
master
want to
it.
go through the tips that you outlined because they're designed for those who have ADHD, but they are helpful for any parent trying to teach their kid about money. The first
Absolutely.
one is called Wait Then, and it sounds similar to something that we did with my kid really from the time they were 2 or 3 up until recently. We called browsing without buying. It's kind of like a form of exposure therapy. You go to the mall knowing you are leaving with nothing. You are not going to buy one thing just so you can get used to being in the store. Tell me a bit more about how you would bring the wait then idea into family life.
Sure. Just, kids are looking at things that they want all the time, either toys, video games, maybe an experience they want to have. when we use the when and then technique, it's basically saying, okay, when you, for example, if you want a good meal tonight, the meal that you want, you'll definitely get it, but you need to finish your homework and then you can have dinner. Just something as simple as and daily
Mm,
as that, right? And
yeah,
then let's say you go to the mall or you see something online, the kids see something online that they like. You say, okay, you like that? Perfect. Okay, so let's do this. Let's wait until your grades come in, and if you get, most A's or A and B's, then we'll go and get you that. But you need to
right,
work towards that. So
right.
just putting a condition on the desire, and what that will do, in my observation, is two things, right? It's gonna start desensitizing the kid or someone else, right? Whoever goes through this experience
Mm,
to that they desire, right?
mm,
And also it's going to instill in them patience and knowing that they want has value. And then they will question themselves and see, okay, do I have enough desire? And let's say, do I want to work for this enough to get it? Right. And
right,
that is a
right.
good way of just auto examining yourself and getting to know what you really like and don't like.
Second idea you call goal specific allowance jars. So we talk a lot about, different jars for spending, saving, investing. How does a goal specific allowance jar work? Is it as simple as I want the PS5, so I'm going to label that jar for that particular device?
You can, absolutely. If you want a PS5 or if you want a special summer camp or something else, right? It could be whatever, but you can have one, two, three, four, 10 yards if you want. The idea of it is that you will use that to have a visual aid for the kid, for the young person. And by visualizing, I'm putting this much in this jar, this much in that jar, it helps them to, number one, prioritize what is what they really want the most out of everything. What really has, significance for them. It also, and you will say, oh, I can do that online, I can do it on a program. Yeah, but it's not the same.
Right.
We're very human, right? And having a physical jar, something that you can touch, that you can put some dollars into, having that physical kinesthetic
Yeah.
experience, right? It's
I
going to
love
make all
number
the difference in the
three.
world.
Number three, offer matching contributions. My dad would do this when I brought home beer bottles from the keg parties that happened in the woods behind my house. He'd take them back to the store, but he would double the value that I got. I don't know that kids pick up beer bottles anymore, but tell us more about how that one would work.
Yeah, it's a nudge to action, really. It's an incentive. We are human beings, and whatever we do it because of incentives, good and bad, right? So by you incentivizing good conduct, it helps empower your kid to start taking good actions and just moving them, and not leave them in inertia or not knowing what to do.
Mm,
But you're just motivating them, and as they do it on and on and on, they're gonna start doing it on their own without any
mm.
incentives, right? They're gonna just start taking action.
Right. Your fourth idea, modeling. Modeling delayed gratification seems like both the easiest and the hardest for parents to follow through on. Let's say that is behavior that you can summon up in yourselves. How do you then communicate or flag that that's what you're doing so it goes noticed? Or should osmosis be enough?
No, I think a lot of things will go through osmosis for sure. Kids are very observant, and that's the key, right? They're always observing, and even when we don't think they're noticing things, they really are, and they understand what is happening. I would say that in addition to just trying in front of them, of course, be a good example always. Just communicating the story behind like a big purchase. Oh, we're buying this van, but this was years of savings, or this took this pay increase, and we had also this blessing that came, this inheritance or whatever, right? But just putting context to it, not that it just came out of a magician's hat, or it's there, but just giving it context so the kid will know that there's a process, there was a value, there was a price that was paid, and there was time. It took time. It just wasn't on demand like many things are in this
Hmm.
age.
Really interesting perspective. Otto, thank you so much for joining us to talk about this.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me, Bruce.
Otto Rivera is a certified financial planner. He works in Orlando, Florida, and he was here to talk about delayed gratification, in particular, some tactics you could use for your neurodiverse family members. Those who've got ADHD have a different complexity when it comes to navigating their money. This conversation was a part of a broader conversation happening at Attitude Magazine. So if you don't know that publication, check it out. It's fantastic.